Previously, on Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, Marth arrives at his homeland of Althea, clashing with Grustian forces on the Althean Islands, and then defeats a Dorian garrison in the castle, freeing his home. With Princess Elise still missing, and the Falchion out of reach, Marth makes haste towards Raman. Marth arrives at Raman to recover the legendary Star Sphere and Light Sphere to give to Gotoh, but a nearby Grustian force awaits them, being none other than the Sable Knights. Marth must break through them to reach the Fane of Raman. In this map, 15 units must be deployed. The player army starts in the north, while most of the enemy army starts in the south, with a detachment on the central island. Near our starting position is a convoy and a house, which tells of the 3 orbs residing in the Fane of Raman, the Light Sphere, Star Sphere, and Geosphere, whose powers can only be appreciated by those who hold them. I send my army through the bridge, meeting in combat with the nearby cavalry. In the central island is an arena, a convoy, 2 armories, one of them having the effective weapon inventory last seen in chapter 16, and the other having the sword inventory of chapter 12, as well as 2 vendors, each with a different inventory seen in chapter 15. As I make my approach to the south, I cover the 4 southwestern forts in the south, as well as the fort in the central island to block reinforcements. Speaking of reinforcements, an enemy Pegasus Knight emerged from the west. This is actually Est of the White Wings, who moves towards Marth to join our army. She has retrieved the sword Mercurius of the Arcanean Regalia. This is the strongest sword of the game, and is of exclusive use to Marth. Est is a Pegasus Knight. She has decent HP, as well as good speed, with great growths overall. Her weapon level is enough for most swords or lances in the game, with good enough growth to be able to reach the Gradius. Her strength is a bit on the lower side, and she is still a few levels away from promotion. Despite her explosive potential, she can be a difficult unit to use. Guarding the entrance to the Fane is Sternlin, a level 5 paladin with a silver lance. With decent defense and speed and a strong weapon, he can be a very threatening boss. I start the fight with Merrick, using the Elfire, and end him with Linda, Sternlin dropping a paladin's honor when defeated. I give this one to Harden. With the boss defeated, I seize the castle with Marth, Meletus warning him of the presence of a terrifying goddess that lives within the Fane. With the orbs locked inside, Marth decides the best course of action is to bring a small force into the temple. Marth heads inside. As we enter the temple, Garneth orders Tiki, the princess of the Naga clan, to burn all those who would invade the Fane, reminding her that he saved her from Medius after she was abandoned by Bantu. In this chapter, 12 units must be deployed. The player army starts in the south, with a convoy nearby, while the enemy army starts with a force in the north, and a corridor of mercenaries in the south, with bow-wielding units littering rooms on both sides of the corridor. I move through the corridor, taking care of the hunters using ranged weapons, while Julian and Marth take on the task of looting the chests scattered on the Fane's various rooms. The Sauron room has a pure water in the left and a bishop's ring on the right, which is the item that promotes mages or curates into bishops, which I give to Linda. The next room has 30,000 gold in the left and a Bolganon tome on the right. The third room has the Geosphere in the left, which holds the power of inflicting damage to all units on the map but has limited uses, while the right holds a Seraph robe. The fourth room has a Skydrake whip on the left, the promotion item that turns Pegasus Knights into Wyvern Knights, which I give to Seda, while the right holds a speed ring. The northernmost room has 2 chests, one of them seemingly already open, the remaining one holding the Star Sphere, which has the power of preventing weapon durability loss. As I make my approach towards the north, I deal with a sniper in a locked room, who drops an Orion's Bolt, while a hero in the northwest drops a Silver Sword, with the nearby thief dropping the Light Sphere when defeated, which holds the power of negating enemy terrain avoid boosts. The boss of this chapter, Tiki, can be recruited by Bantu, who wakes up Tiki from Garneth's spell. With Tiki back to her senses, she recalls suffering from a terrible nightmare, Bantu apologizing for having lost Tiki, the 2 of them promising to never leave each other again. Tiki is a Maneki. Her stats aren't that amazing, but her growths are great. She also has exclusive use of the Divine Stone, weaker than the Fire Stone, but lighter and more accurate, as well as being effective against Manekeets. She's pretty good at destroying Manekeets, even with her base stats, but she usually won't do much else. With Tiki free, I give her both stat boosters I got in this chapter. Then I seize the throne with Marth. With the orbs in our possession, Nina warns us before heading to Grust that General Camus of the Sable Knights had protected her from the wrath of Dollar, who had eradicated the Arcanean royal family. Camus took her to Aurelis to help her flee from Medius' grasp. Although she hated him when in captivity, she wishes that Marth wouldn't fight him, wanting to see him again. Marth heads southwards. With Marth arriving in Grust, he tells General Camus that he wants to avoid bloodshed, Princess Nina wanting to see him again. General Camus, however, is duty-bound to his homeland and won't budge, wanting to fight until the end. Nina begs Camus to stop, wanting him to join them. However, he can't leave his homeland and betray his people, wishing that Nina can find happiness. In this map, 15 units must be deployed. The player army starts in the east, near a convoy, while most of the enemies are north of a river or mountains, only a small force in more open terrain. North of the river is a convoy, an arena, 2 armories, one holding the inventory of Chapter 4, the other holding the effective weapon inventory of Chapter 18, and a vendor, holding the tomes from Chapter 18. I cross the river with Marth and move most other units near the forest, the Mercurius dealing incredible damage to my enemies. One of the enemy paladins drops a silver sword when defeated. Once I stabilize the situation near the river, I have Abel lower the drawbridge with a bridge key, allowing for more crossings. An enemy general approaches my position, expressing shame towards his king when attacking me. I can recruit him with Sarah, who recognizes him as General Lorenz of Grust, an old friend of her father. She asks him why he didn't stop the alliance between Grust and Dollar. Lorenz saying that the king of Grust is weak and feared Dollar's might. Seda persuades Lorenz to switch sides to stop Dollar from completing their conquest of mankind. Lorenz agreeing that although betraying his homeland is hard, he will join her. Lorenz is a general, a 5 movement class that wields swords. He has incredible HP and defense, and good strength, but awful speed. He has good growths in HP and strength. His weapon level is enough for all swords in the game. Unfortunately though, his movement is so low he might not be able to see any action. He can be a filler unit for maps that don't require much movement, but that won't be the case for most of the game. Marth visits the village in the south, being greeted by Lena's grandfather, wanting to give her the Hammern staff, a family heirloom. This staff repairs weapons and is of exclusive use to Lena, so I give her the staff, as well as the manual from chapter 12, so that she can use ward staffs as well. With that done, I warp Marth next to the boss. A nearby ballistician drops the Pachyderm, the strongest ballista in the game, while a thief drops a devil sword. Guarding the castle of Grust is Camus, a level 14 paladin wielding the Gradius, the last of the Arcanean Regalia. Very mighty and with increased range, approaching Camus is one of the most difficult parts of the game. I send Marth, equipped with the Mercurius and holding both the Star and Light spheres, to fight him, and I end him with a lucky critical hit, Camus bidding farewell to Nina and dropping the Gradius. Finally, the Arcanean Regalia is reunited. Marth seizes the castle, lamenting he could not avoid this outcome. Nina apologizes to Marth for having to put him through that, knowing that it would come down to this since she had given him the Fire Emblem, which holds a curse that would make Nina lose someone dear to her, as stated in the Legend of Artemis's curse. Marth heads to the southwest. Although a tragic loss has been inflicted to Nina, Marth has recovered the legendary spheres necessary for Gotoh's Starlight tome. Marth holds the keys for the recovery of the Divine Sword Falchion, and a meeting between legends will soon happen. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time, as we finally recover the Falchion Sword.